Welcome back to Second Breakfast and our ongoing gaming discussions, bringing you the best thoughts, theories, and literary analysis this side of the Xbox 360.
In this episode, we are talking about the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 campaign and what it means for the future of the genre. Let's get into it.
Alright, so I played through the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 campaign. I was looking forward to it. I was excited. It took forever to download because these games are gigantic. And I had a weird reaction to it. It was kind of a mixed reaction. And I was trying to make sense of the thought, see if I had enough to do an episode about it. And I started writing this little pro-cons list, like I was thinking about a boy in middle school. It was weirdly, it was a silly thing to do, but it gave us an interesting structure here. So I've got about 10 bullet points I want to run through for this pro-con list. And spoiler alert, there are no pros.
Oh. Oh dear.
There are 5 cons, and then there are 5 mixed.
Okay. They're like, okay.
So there's nothing purely good, but there are
Cool.
some, I don't know, glimmers of hope.
Okay.
The word that I kept coming back to, and I want this to be sort of the anchor of the discussion, and that's why it's on the thumbnail of the YouTube version of this episode, is the word careless. Mm-hmm. Because so often while I was playing this, even when I was trying to find the fun and struggle through it, and I don't know, I did enjoy myself for some of it, but I just kept thinking how careless so much of the design was.
That's really shitty for such a big game.
The biggest, I mean, it will be probably almost definitely the biggest game of the year, and it's always the biggest franchise of the year.
But you know, that's the thing, right? Because it's like, oh, people are going to buy this, people are going to play this, like it's going to be huge, so we can just put out whatever. It feels very like Sarah J. Maas. I don't need an editor. I can just write 1,000 pages of shit and my readers will buy it.
I mean, people say the same thing about Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these massive kind of shambling Goliath franchises that don't improve because they already have that cachet.
Ugh.
And that's the weird kind of tension I want to get into. So
Okay.
the first bullet point here, which is firmly a con, or as I wrote, bad, : single-player campaign. There is no single-player mode.
Ugh.
While you're playing the
worst.
campaign, it says co-op campaign on the menu. So you're technically always co-op. So I'm just making a private lobby and playing by myself.
Okay.
So it'll let you play alone, but it's very much designed for multiple people.
Okay.
The enemies have way too much health. It feels like it's balanced for a bunch of people are shooting at them, or they're coming from multiple directions. It just feels totally designed for co-op.
Okay.
Which is fine if you like that, but not fine if you're there for the 20 years of history with this franchise
gonna say,
of playing single-player campaigns.
I feel like Call of Duty, I mean, it's continued to live and evolve over the past 20 years, but I think it's so emblematic of the like early 2000s like single-player campaign Xbox 360 games, you know?
And 360, that's why I shouted that out in the intro, because the 360 generation was so lousy with great FPS campaigns. They were just everywhere.
Right.
And that's where I was molded as a gamer. That's why I still love those so much. But that was also the generation where online, Xbox Live, and multiplayer really came through. So yeah, I know that Call of Duty is mostly now a multiplayer franchise, and that those lobbies, and there's a free-to-play multiplayer version called Warzone that's gigantic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know that that's a huge part of the game, but it's not the only part of the game, because
Right.
those campaigns, all the way since I started, playing Call of Duty 2 and going back to the first couple, those games all had great cinematic, bombastic, 6 to 8 hour campaigns. And I hate seeing that tradition kind of slip away.
Yeah.
But on a technical level, the fact that this is a co-op campaign means that you can play it solo, you're just not going to have a great time. Meaning you have to go through this kind of clunky lobby system to even start the game. But you also can't pause.
That's the worst, man. I'm so over this you can't pause shit. Yeah, especially if you're not playing with other people.
Right.
Like, what's the point? Because I get it. If you're with other people, obviously that you can't pause. Understandable. But if you're by yourself, and it wasn't even so I watched you play this, right? Like, I didn't play this, listener. If you can't tell, it's not my kind of game. I didn't play this. This is not for me. But I'm invested in how it is for you. And so I was watching you play, and I would, want to come talk to you, and you're like, I'm sorry, I can't pause. I'm like, that's cool. I'll come back in 10 minutes. And you're like, I'm nowhere near done. Like, it's not only that you couldn't pause, it's that each mission lasted a million years. And if you, had to leave or try to hide in the corner, it would, like, drop you for inactivity, and you had to start all over
If you have a
again.
life or a wife
Yeah.
or a kid or
I
a
know.
job.
Like, we don't
or,
have kids. Like, how do people with children do this? How do
Yeah.
people with like any, what if you have to pee? Like, it's ridiculous.
There are and that's the problem of being built on a co-op infrastructure, because if you're playing a co-op campaign with multiple people's connections, then yeah, you can't pause.
Right, understandable.
You can't pause the multiplayer version when you're playing online with people. That makes sense to me.
Right.
And I was feeling more lenient when I was playing the game, because this happens so often now that there are games you can't pause.
Yeah, this isn't unique to Black Ops. It's very common now.
I just want it to be a line in the sand.
Yeah.
This is just unacceptable for campaigns.
I agree. I totally agree.
Like, if we don't review things, we don't use like a star system or anything, but this would dock it like multiple points. I
0 out of 10.
can't stand this, because,
Yeah.
and this moves on to my second bullet point here.
Your other bad.
It's not just that there's no pausing. It's that there are no checkpoints.
Oh, that's even
So
worse.
multiple times through, life where you don't always have the clean, however long it takes to finish a mission.
Right.
I would have to stop and leave the lobby and go do whatever and come back the next night and jump into it. And I figured, like every other modern game and every other Call of Duty, there would be checkpoints through the mission. So I would spawn in, halfway through about where I was. And I would have to fully restart the mission.
What do you think the reason is for that? Is it they were too lazy to put them in, or they like torturing their players, or they want them to replay often so that they can say our players played for longer? Like, what's the deal with that?
So I was popping achievements, because I played on Xbox, just for the lineage of the thing.
Of course.
Also because it was on Game Pass. But I was popping achievements as I finished missions. And the more missions I played, the more rare the achievements became.
So you could see that fewer and fewer people had done what you had done.
Yeah, and I think I texted you when I finished the campaign.
Yes.
Because I got an achievement for beating the last mission and, beating the whole campaign. And I think it was 0.32% of players had beaten the campaign.
That's not very many.
And this wasn't launch weekend.
Right.
I mean, we're hitting this, a week or two after it came out?
So there's been time for people to play it.
Yeah. So a third of 1% finished the campaign. And I would argue that more people are playing Call of Duty on Game Pass than are shelling out $70 or $80 on another service.
Yeah.
So that's a really bad stat. And maybe that explains why there aren't these quality of life issues. I would counter that doesn't make them acceptable.
Right. And that to me, like, I think that tells me why people aren't finishing. Either they aren't enjoying it, or they're just having a hard time finishing because they keep having to fucking start over.
I don't even know if it's that. And to answer your question, because I know I kind of dodged it there.
It's okay.
I think I would go back to my anchor word, which is just careless.
Yeah, they're like, whatever. Who needs a checkpoint? Yeah.
Because I can't imagine it's that difficult to put in.
No.
I mean, how many games have quick save now?
Right.
Everything with a sprinkle of RPG elements now has some sort of quick save function.
Sure, yeah. Or even I'm thinking like more like a live service RPG, like or ARPG, you can like, even if you can't pause within the thing that you're inside, like if you're in a dungeon, you can still leave the dungeon and then come back to it later.
There's also more money in this franchise and in the multiple studios that work on this franchise than anything else in the industry. So I don't think this is beyond their capabilities.
Right.
But having to replay full missions, and they're clearly segmented out. There are natural stopping points where you could have a checkpoint.
Oh,
I mean, I had to replay the whole first mission the second night when I jumped in.
That's terrible.
And then every time I would... Sorry.
He's getting too worked up,
It's killing me. This is my final Call of Duty. When I would log on and jump back in again and go through this convoluted lobby system to try to find the last level and jump in, it would always be bricked and glitched, where I couldn't... It was suddenly saying I didn't have access to any of those levels.
Oh.
So I would have to go back to the homepage of the Xbox and quit out of the game fully and relaunch it. And then most of the time, I'd be able to go back into the start of whatever level I had attempted the night before.
That's ridiculous. And like, not that I don't get the sense that story is hugely important for this game, but still it like breaks your immersion to like have to replay the entire mission. Like that sucks.
It also feels like a waste of time.
Right.
Even
like,
if the levels were incredible, it would feel like a waste of time.
Right. And once again, you're not even a person who has kids. So like you have, time, not endless time, but you've got some time to play this game.
Right.
But imagine if you had even less time, just like you would just not play this. Like that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next bullet point here, the next bad, is the balance of the weapons. And this is something I'm so familiar with from my time in Destiny. because half of that game is PvE, player versus environment, which is all of your story missions and your campaigns, the stuff I like.
Yes, that's you.
And the other half is PvP, player versus player. And that's the online shooting other people.
Right.
You know.
That gives me such anxiety. I've always hated that idea because I don't want the other players to think I'm bad at the game.
Oh, boy.
That's my own problem.
That's a different episode.
We'll address that on the next episode.
But that's an interesting thing because weapons perform differently in a campaign with all sorts of enemy AI and bosses versus players twitchy running around a little map.
Yeah.
They just end up performing differently. So to have to balance that sandbox kind of with double vision, so things are effective and usable within both halves of the game, I know that's an endless kind of seesaw and tap dance for those developers. I feel like there was almost no effort put into the balancing of the weapons in this game for the campaign. Everything felt like it was balanced for multiplayer.
I see.
You didn't grow up with like Left 4 Dead and classic zombie games.
I played a little Left 4 Dead in high school. I remember with my friends.
Well, there was a time in my life when, because there were so many games like that, where there were like two personality traits you could have. You could either be the guy who went shotgun or the guy who went assault rifle.
Oh, sure.
Or SMG. I always went assault rifle SMG. Never shotgun. I don't know why. And even Destiny and all the other shooters that I play, because I've always played a bunch of shooters, I like as many bullets as humanly possible.
Right. It makes you feel more powerful and more safe.
It just feels better.
I get it.
I don't know. I've always liked that. So obviously I gravitated towards that for this playthrough. And I was shocked by how much time I spent reloading.
Oh, that's
It was
annoying.
like it just farted out every bullet in the magazine in about half a second, which didn't really kill who I was shooting at.
Right.
And then so much of the gameplay was just watching these boring reloading sequences.
Man, that sucks.
Which felt like it was balanced for multiplayer, where if everyone's twitchy and running and bouncing around and trying to, totally overwhelm you and be this quick moving target that you can't focus on, you want it to feel like a bullet hose, right? Where you can fire as much as possible where they are. But in this more contemplative, I'm working through corridors and rooms with enemies popping up and going down, I had to switch every SMG, every assault rifle to be away from full auto. So that they only fired once when I pulled the trigger.
So you didn't waste as much ammo.
So I had to turn them all into like hunting rifles.
Yeah, so then you're just like not even using the weapon as it's intended. That's dumb.
I mean, I really struggled with this for the first couple missions because the balancing just felt so off. And once I changed it to just be these single shot, it kind of became a shooting gallery. It didn't feel as involved and fast and cinematic. It didn't feel as Call of Duty as I wanted it to be, but it felt more playable.
Okay, well, I'm glad you found that workaround, but it sucks that you had to find the workaround.
Yeah, it just felt like such a compromised experience, and I had to go back to the campaign yesterday so I could pull some footage for the YouTube version of this episode, which will have, as ever, my gameplay running in the background. And even there, there's a light machine gun, which is another class of weapon. And those are the ones with the huge-ass magazines that have like hundreds and hundreds of bullets.
Oh, okay.
And because they have so many bullets, they take much longer to reload. That's kind of how you balance it out, so you're not just dominating like that. And even with those, like there was clips of gameplay I didn't even want to use because it just felt like such dog shit. Where I would just blow through this whole clip and no one would die and I would just look totally inept.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Because I want the gameplay to look good.
Can I just say, I kind of hate the concept of reloading. I understand running out of ammo and having to find more ammo. That's fine. But I like having to fucking take the time to reload is so annoying to me.
I love a quick reload.
It's like in one of those like survival games where you have to like eat. Like, fuck that. I'm not going to eat and sleep. Like, just let me play the game.
To its credit, a couple years ago, Destiny 2 just made, for your primary weapons, it just made all ammo infinite. So you didn't have to worry with going and scavenging around.
I think the idea of trying to like collect a resource, like trying to collect health or potions or mana, like that makes sense. I don't mind that, but having to take a second to like be vulnerable and reload, I think is bullshit.
If it's a survival-y game, then I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Like if it's a Fallout, then I think scavenging through cabinets and doors not doors don't have drawers, but trying to find ammo and bottle caps and stuff, that's part of that immersive fantasy.
Yes.
But I think it's annoying in a high octane campaign like
fast
this.
paced, like, oh, let me pause to reload my gun. Like, that's silly.
To your point, the modern Doom games don't have any reload.
Nice.
All
Nice.
of the bullets are just there when you switch to the weapon.
That's great. And you love Doom.
Yeah,
so.
and you run out of bullets faster there, but there is no reloading. So
That's great.
I agree with that impulse.
Yeah.
I want to be as in the thick of it as humanly possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
The next problem is...
The next bad.
We're almost out of bads. Is the boss fights.
Oh.
Which is, I mean, it's a weird thing to say in a Call of Duty that there are boss fights, because in the earlier games, there would be a climactic moment. There's a moment at the end of one of the first Modern Warfare games that comes down to you're wounded and woozy, and the screen looks like it has, jelly smeared on it to show blood.
Yeah.
And you're almost dying, and there's this knife that you pull out, and you whip at the big boss enemy.
Oh, cool.
So it's not a boss fight, but it's kind of a 1v1 mono finale.
Nice.
But it's almost a quick time event. It's not really gameplay focused.
Sure.
But it still has that feeling of being the final moment in confrontation.
Yeah.
Putting in a boss fight where you have big health bars and everything's just a bullet sponge, that feels so shitty in a shooter, but especially in a Call of Duty. Like, I can get over that in Destiny or in Borderlands. I've kind of made my peace with the bullet spongy elements of that. But in a more realistic military shooter.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around what is it that you're shooting at, because it's not like it's not Halo, so it's not an alien, it's not a monster. It's just a really strong person. Like, what are you shooting at?
So there are a lot of kind of surreal elements of the game. There are toxin clouds. It's big kind of splashes of colors that leak through the air and make everyone all fucked up. And then you see all these scary kind of demons and spidery things and apparitions, and you go into kind of these dream worlds a little bit. And some of that is the coolest shit in the campaign.
Because it gives you flexibility to play with fantasy a little bit.
Right. So you'd think, okay, the boss fights are going to be cool. But most of them are weirdly shitty. One of them is just a big man with a big head.
Okay.
And you just shoot at the big head for a while and hide from him punching the ground. It's shitty in execution. There's a jumpy, glowy guy. There's a circling kind of drop ship that has a shield, and eventually when it stops, it turns off the shield, and then you can shoot it for a minute, and then you have to hide. None of it feels good. And then the final boss fight is just 3 identical mechs that pop up.
Identical what?
Mech.
What is a mech? I'm sorry. I was like, I was waiting for you to finish the word. I was like, what are you talking about?
Did you see Pacific Rim?
No.
This is so funny to explain.
I'm just a girl, Cam.
This is such a gender shibboleth.
Please help. I don't know what any of this is.
A mech is a big mechanical device that usually a person gets into and kind of pilots.
Okay.
So it usually has arms and legs.
Oh, okay.
It's like a big
robot,
thing.
a big transformer.
Picture a transformer.
Okay.
If you could mount Optimus Prime.
Do those exist in real life? I don't think they do.
Do Transformers exist in real life?
No, do mechs.
Those movies are so lifelike. I can hardly tell myself.
Okay, I got it. So you fight big transformer.
You just fight 3 of them.
Okay.
It's just
that's dumb.
It's
I'm
totally
gonna say it, friends.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
I did just say underwhelming.
It's underwhelming.
Thank you for
It's very
allowing that.
underwhelming. Okay.
Our next bullet point is about the difficulty. So
Okay.
usually there are difficulty options in campaigns. Halo has famously the legendary difficulty, which is, you basically get sneezed at and you die. And
Cool.
that can be a challenge because in a good way, because you play through these campaigns, the Halo campaigns, the Gears campaigns. I spent so much of my childhood replaying through these campaigns like it was an arcade machine and just running it again and again, setting these little challenges and difficulty modifiers on myself, just kind of making my own fun with it. But when you have difficulty options, I think it adds to the replayability of,
Sure.
Hey, can I do this on the hardest difficulty? Can I really master these levels and the ins and outs of them? This campaign, which isn't single player and you can't pause and doesn't have checkpoints and the weapons aren't balanced and the boss fights suck, doesn't have difficulty options.
Oh.
So
that's unheard of now. All games have difficulty options, right?
It says that it kind of, I did some reading on this, it kind of dynamically adapts to your skills and success.
Oh, I don't like that.
And
let me decide. I hate that. Sorry, I hate that. I'm going to say it. I hate that.
But you'd think that would feel nice if I'm really struggling against this section, it'll make it a bit easier.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
But
fine.
in practice, because there is such a bullet sponge problem with so many of these enemies and swarms of enemies, it feels like it's just not balanced properly. Because in Call of Duty, in Halo, if there were 4 difficulties, those feel like 4 uniquely balanced campaigns. They are unique experiences that you can learn and master and enjoy. Here, it just felt like there were crazy difficulty spikes that the game would just slacken and brute force you through. There would be big bottlenecks that didn't feel balanced, and then you just run your head against the wall enough times and it pushes you through.
I have to imagine that feels kind of weird because, like, when you encounter a difficult section in another game, it can be really frustrating, but once you, like, figure it out and beat it, you're like, awesome, I got through that big thing. You feel accomplishment, it's satisfying. But here, I feel like they would feel like, oh, they felt bad for me, so they, like, let me through. Like, so I struggled for nothing.
It's like when a teacher wants to fail a kid, but they don't want to have to teach him again next year, so they just push him through, so it's the next grade's problem.
Yeah.
It felt like that. There was no sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It was just like get out of my way.
Right, and so then, yeah, you're right. Then the whole game's going to feel like, okay, this part was easier and this part was harder, and then it got easier and it was weird. Yeah, that removes your own agency. Like, if you're playing a game and it's too difficult, if you then decide, you can decide 2 things. You can either try to push through and just, finally do it, or you can be like, you know what, I'm going to lower the difficulty for this section because it's too hard and it's not worth my time, so I'm just going to get through it. But that's your decision. This game is removing that decision from you, and that sucks.
But it also, in a well-designed, well-balanced game, difficulty it should spark curiosity. So if you're playing Elden Ring drops you onto this plane and you see this big-ass gold knight on this massive armored gold horse just pacing in front of you.
Cool.
And you think, okay, this is the tutorial enemy. And you run over and you just get fucking curb stomped by this thing over and over and over. And the point of that is to teach you a lesson. They know that they're throwing a boss fight at you immediately, and you're not going to win. The point that it's trying to teach you in this big open world is you don't have to immediately fight everything you see. Yes, you could grind for hours and hours until you whittle them down and win just by attrition. But it's telling you, if you walk into a part of this world and feel totally underleveled, go wander somewhere else.
Right.
And there are so many dark corners and interesting alleys within that game that you can always do that, and it feels rewarding. And then when you go back, I've gone back to that first area to try to kill this guy, and I can do it because I've learned, I've gotten better equipment, so there's this sense of achievement.
Right.
And the difficulty here just feels careless.
Yes, and that approach for something like Elden Ring respects the player. And it's not that every game has to embody that exact style of, like, leveling up and that sort of thing.
Right.
But the philosophy of trusting your player to learn, I think, is so important, and, like, respecting your player. And everything you're telling me about this Black Ops campaign makes me feel like they do not respect their players.
Yeah,
and that really
exactly.
icky. I don't like it.
Because there are no difficulty options in Elden Ring. Everyone's having the same experience, which means they're intricately balancing for that one experience. And for this being adaptive, it just feels like they're kind of cheating and fudging the numbers behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it never feels good. And even the weapons aren't balanced to meet these difficulty spikes. You know how in most modern RPG-ish kind of games, even something you've played like a Hogwarts Legacy or Destiny or whatever, or Diablo, you have colored loot tiers.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got the legendary ones that are orange, and then the shitty ones that are gray, and then a blue and a green. And
yellow, yeah.
So they kind of put that into the campaign.
All right.
But without the kind of effort and balancing that would require to do correctly. So basically you start off with shitty gray, and then a couple levels in, you find a magical machine that turns everything blue, and then you turn everything green. And then in the last level, everything turns orange.
Yeah.
But you're getting better at the game. You're getting power-ups and other things along the way. The game's really tough in the beginning when you have the worst weapons. And it's pretty easy at the end. And that's when it gives you the legendary weapons. So it feels completely unnecessary. By the time you get the weapons you wanted, you don't really need them.
Oh, that sucks.
It doesn't feel like you're getting more powerful or you're mastering a system. It just feels like, oh, we're kind of supposed to do this, so here's a different color.
Right. Like, this is what's supposed to happen next, so here you go. Just very formulaic and not not thoughtful. Yeah.
Our last bad bullet point is within, and this is mostly within character customization, like in Diablo, when you can make your little flag and your emblem and have these little character cards and color schemes and all that. There's a lot of AI slop in those visuals. I'm not going to call it art because it's not art.
Nope.
But there are AI visuals within that.
That sucks.
And I didn't know that when I jumped in, or I might not have jumped in.
Yeah.
But I wanted to earmark that because that's, again, unacceptable dog shit. Next bullet point.
I hate that. Here,
Yeah,
actually,
me
before you go to the next bullet point,
Okay.
listener, if you enjoy this discussion and you enjoy our show and you want to support us, may I suggest you check out the Patreon. We have Patreon, folks. It is $2 a month. For that price, you can get 2 bonus episodes every single month, plus access to the whole back catalog of bonus episodes that we've been creating for the last, 2.5 years. It's a really fun place to be. We talk about a lot of games over there, as well as fantasy and horror and all kinds of other things. So go check that out. The links for that are in the description down below.
All right. So that's it for the bad bullet points.
Okay.
On our pros cons list, we're now moving to the more positive or hedging section of the discussion.
Okay.
The rest of these are mixed. And I
Okay.
think this is
not
where...
mechs. Mixed.
Not what?
Not mechs. It's a new word
yes.
I learned today. I'm trying to put it in practice.
I was so confused you made me forget the word.
Okay, sorry.
I thought you meant Tex-Mex, and then I was thinking about chilies.
Well,
and-
earlier I thought you were talking about fucking Tex-Mex, so I was really confused. I was like, "What's?" I was like, "Are you fighting Mexicans?" Like, I was so lost. I was like, I didn't know
Is
that was
that
part
even
of the...
like a nickname? I've never heard that before. Anyway, our first mixed bullet point is about the variety of the campaign. There's so much variety here. I feel like it's constantly refreshing what you're doing and what kind of game it is. And these are the biggest bright spots for me. Yes, because it's so frantic in flitting through these ideas, it can feel like everything's a little half-baked. But I appreciated that I never got bored of the things I was being asked to do.
Well, I
It
guess that's
changed up
good.
the visuals and the activities and the tone almost relentlessly. And I do respect that. So a couple examples.
Okay.
There's a stealthy prison break against those weird surreal zombies. That was pretty cool.
That sounds
and
fun.
It didn't last that long. I replayed it last night to pull some footage, and yes, I kind of ran through it because the first time it was just a fucking slog of being slaughtered and overwhelmed, so I kind of just skedaddled by everyone. And it didn't take that long, so I appreciate the kind of brevity of that because too much stealth turns me
I
off.
was gonna say you don't really like stealth that much.
But you get to retreat through all these sewers and tunnels and this kind of gondola thing, and they're chasing you down the...
Yeah, it probably
That
feels
was
like
fun.
exciting, intense. That's cool. Yeah.
And most of the time, you're just fighting this nameless, faceless military corporation, whatever, guys with helmets on.
Sure.
But then it'll throw some of these surreal monsters at you. And it's not just humanoid kind of zombie things. It'll have these weird flying bats.
Oh.
Or you'll get some of these kind of spidery things. But they look like the spider... Remember the head in the thing with the spider legs coming off of it?
Yep.
They kind of look like that. They're really troubling.
Yeah, that's creepy.
I made sure to get some of that footage for the YouTube version.
Oh, neat. Okay.
There's also a boss fight that is stationary and boring, but it looks really cool.
Okay.
And it's kind of like this Venus flytrap Demogorgon thing with like the petal face that
Yeah,
opens
yeah.
up, but it's kind of just this thing that wobbles around.
Sure.
It doesn't really chase you or anything, and you shoot the glowy spots, and it's uninspired gameplay, but it looks fucking cool
Okay.
when you land in the arena.
All right.
You also jump into these surreal section of kind of memory fragments in this void where it's almost like 3D platforming, where there are all these doors or elements that are almost impossibly laid out in front of you on this little path you have to hop along.
Oh, that's neat.
So some of that is really fun. Or you go into this character's childhood home and activate these freaky TVs and memories, and there are apparitions and
Oh, wow.
hallucinations, and
Okay.
some of it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And there are... my point is not that I hated this experience.
Yeah, okay.
I just front-loaded the bad because that's how I wrote the notes.
Well, it seems like so there was like an element of creativity in this, but it went towards different things, and not all
Yes.
the things you would hope that it would go towards.
The creative elements were so often undermined by the underlying systems or design principles. Everything
Yeah.
that we just spent 20 minutes calling careless.
Right.
The balancing, the menus, the not being able to pause. All of that just sours the interesting creative experiences that you have along the way. They complicate them. They kind of take the sheen off. And the next element I wanted to talk about is that surrealism, just to kind of lay that out a little better.
Sure.
You go through so many of these loud, colorful dreamscapes, and some of the design reminded me of kind of the best parts of Destiny 2 or a game like Control, which has a lot of sort of grounded surrealism in it too. It's through these like impossible, winding, labyrinthine office buildings, but you have like telekinetic powers, and there's a lot of weird, inexplicable shit happening, and time jumping back and forth, and it had a lot of that to it. You know, you hallucinate these monsters, you have these weird toxin clouds, but eventually the impressive introduction of those ideas kind of fades away. And it kind of just felt like they were recycling the classic zombie mode.
Oh, okay.
So pretty early on in the Call of Duty days, I think it was World at War, which would have been the 5th mainline game. I used to get these every year. Like I was locked in.
Okay.
They introduced a zombie mode. So that was one of the multiplayer modes, but you could play it locally, like in split screen. You could even play it alone. And I imagine you could pause.
Wow.
So you'd be in this house, and there would be all of these zombies kind of in waves, like a horde mode, basically, running at the house. And you would have to set up defenses. So you have to run over to one of the windows and hold down a button, and you build up these bars and wooden planks on the windows. And then when the zombies would show up, they would claw away at them.
Oh, wow.
So it was almost a resource management game of running around to, they're breaking through the door or the window, and you'd have your friends run over and you'd try to maintain it.
That sounds really fun.
And inevitably, they would break in and be shambling through the house.
Sure.
And it would, for co-op, multiplayer, just fun on the couch, original Call of Duty Zombies was the best.
That sounds really cool.
And I even did, they evolved it. They've kept this mode around forever. I've played various versions of it with Tristan. It's always fun.
Yeah.
But the surrealism of this campaign, the more I was just fighting these humanoid enemies and not the cool spidery monsters, it kind of just felt like they were reusing some of the art assets and stuff they already had from Zombies.
I see.
And just kind of, here's a narrative reason to do this in the campaign. And it felt like less and less inspired as it went.
That sucks.
Again, it really impressed me, and then the more I looked at it, it just soured.
Right, because then you make that comparison. You're like, well, this isn't as fun as that, and and there's so much originality in that original zombie mode, and so now that originality is sort of missing. Okay.
Our second to last point here on the mixed category is that this was an occasionally fun campaign. How many times did you walk through the room and I was having a good time?
Yeah, it happened.
And I think a good way, it's kind of cheating, but a way of refreshing the gameplay loop here is the number of power-ups they threw at you. So you'd be able to equip these, kind of like, when you hit both shoulder buttons and you use whatever big mega skill to kill everyone.
Some ultimate skill, yeah.
Exactly, an ultimate. There would be a lot of those, and a couple of these times within every mission where you'd hit what should be a fucking checkpoint, you will get a little box where you can walk over to it and swap out your power up and try another one.
That's fun.
And one of them was like a huge jump.
Ooh,
where
love a big jump.
You spend a lot of the campaign in this big open world map that they just reuse for the end game, which makes it feel like they're just breaking it up and making that a campaign mission. But it's within this kind of villa Italian countryside. So you have snipers on the roofs and enemies spawning out of all these little areas. So if you can do a huge jump and just hide on the roof, that's a big advantage.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
If you're sniping or using single-shot assault rifles like I am, that one was really helpful.
Okay.
There's a bubble shield. There's a self-res where if you die before you go down when you're calling around, you can just get yourself back up. Because usually in a co-op campaign, someone would have to run over and help you.
Yeah, okay.
So you can revive yourself.
That's cool. So with these power-ups, was it like...
They're on a cooldown.
Okay, yeah. And if you got to this what should be a checkpoint and you realize you don't like this thing, do you have to wait till the next one to swap it back out, or do you have a couple in your cache, or how does it work?
You have one at a time.
Okay.
But if you equip one and try it, you can just go back to the box and switch it back.
Oh, okay.
That's easy.
Yeah.
There's a grappling hook in this kind of jungle-y section, and I thought that was... I always like a grapple.
Well, yeah, that's fun.
It's catnip for me.
Right.
There are also kind of turrets. So you can hold this in your gear slot, and you can drop this massive sentry turret that will auto-aim and shoot at enemies for you. And given the difficulty spikes, that kind of saved my ass a few times. I really liked that one.
Okay.
And part of it is that the game is so varied. There are so many different elements. There are so many ideas thrown into this campaign. It only lasts about 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
The whole campaign.
Wow.
And because I played it kind of slow so I could find some sort of enjoyment, it probably lasted a bit longer for me. But I looked it up on YouTube, and most of the walkthroughs of, here's my gameplay for the whole campaign, they're like 4 hours.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not a long campaign. And I think as much as that can be negative, it also kind of means the frustrations don't last that long.
Sure.
And the fact that it was on Game Pass and I'm grandfathered into some deal from a couple of years ago where Game Pass is like nothing every month, I can't fully complain about 5 hours of something that was mixed but occasionally fun.
Well, and we've talked before about how like now it feels like all AAA games sort of try to do the like open world 60-hour campaign thing, which gets exhausting. Like that's an amazing achievement, and for some games that's really great, but not every game has to be that. And we've been bemoaning the like we're missing the early 2000s like 7-hour campaign thing. So that is nice that they're sticking to that at least. I mean, I want to look at it positively and not just be like they were lazy and didn't want to do any more. I'm trying to be positive about it. Yeah.
Part of it is the just factory that they've established to make Call of Duty games, where this is one of the last franchises that is annual. I mean, if you think of movies and TV, you can't get a Stranger Things season in less than half a decade.
Right.
So if you have this coming out every year, they have a whole system of multiple studios who alternate projects so that they can keep that yearly cadence. I kind of get why the games are smaller if you have to get it out every year, because if you have testing and quality assurance and all these other stages, what is that, like 8 or 10 months to build the campaign?
Yeah.
So I think that explains a lot of the shortcomings of the campaign.
Yeah,
but as a consumer, you don't have to be understanding about that. You can just say, this product didn't make me happy. I didn't enjoy the experience. So my sympathies are kind of measured there. The last point I want to play with, and this is to accordion out this whole problem to the industry, is what I think this campaign means for the future of FPS campaigns, for shooter campaigns, the ones I've always loved. Because there was a time a couple years ago where Call of Duty shipped a game, I believe it was one of the earlier Black Ops iterations, I fell off for a couple of years. They shipped one that just didn't have a single-player campaign.
Oh.
And then they brought it back. So I guess compared to not having one, this is a step forward.
Yeah, it's a shitty one, but they have it. Yeah.
The problem is last year's, which was Black Ops 6, I thought that campaign was great. I really enjoyed that one, and I don't think we covered it on the show.
I don't think we did.
I looked and I couldn't find an episode.
I don't think I've ever really sat down and talked to you about Call of Duty other than just in our normal conversations. Like we haven't done it on the show before.
But I really liked last year's without all of these qualifiers or hedging.
Right.
I just enjoyed that one. That was fun. It was also short, but it was fun. And if it is cinematic, I mean, there are so many shooter campaigns I love that are under 6 hours, and I'll replay them forever, and I have. So I don't think that's the end-all, be-all. But the fact that this is the industry standard, that most of these games, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, these big military shooters, you're going to get kind of an incredibly short campaign that's largely recycled from other modes. I mean, how much of this discussion has been me saying, I think this was pulled from zombies, and I think this was pulled from their multiplayer assets.
Yeah.
And it's kind of Frankenstein together of, here, I guess you have a campaign now, go away.
Yeah.
Call of Duty and Battlefield, I feel like they're devolving to where Destiny 2 is now, where those expansions, those campaigns are getting smaller and smaller.
And worse and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had that big final one, the final shape, a couple years ago, last year?
I think it's last year, yeah.
And now, I mean, they've said they're getting smaller. And that worries me as a fan of this genre, but it's also that the quality is going downhill. And some of my other favorite shooter campaigns from when I was coming up were Gears and Halo. I know Gears isn't first person, but it's germane to the discussion. Those are weirdly both shifting in the kind of Far Cry direction. You were talking about big open worlds, kind of questing collectathons like Assassin's Creed, or Breath of the Wild even, or those sort of games. Far Cry is made by Ubisoft. Ubisoft makes Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Far Cry is kind of the same mechanics of Assassin's Creed, but it's first person and you have guns. So you're still exploring an open world. You've got all these quests, you've got all these checklists and markers, and it's fun if you like that kind of thing, but it's the same formula with a gun in first person.
I see.
And the last Halo game, Halo Infinite, was very much like a Far Cry game, like an Assassin's Creed game, where it's kind of open world, you got a bunch of markers and quest lists, and it's just kind of open world. Most people didn't like it. I actually did.
Did you? Okay.
I really did. But the last Gears game, which was like 2019 at this point, was also semi-open world with some side objectives and stuff. And largely those games feel empty to people compared to the rigorously designed cinematic single-player story that you used to go on. So I've been wary of the open worldification of a lot of those franchises. And I found myself in the last couple of years really gravitating towards old school campaign design, which is why we did 3 episodes, or 4 maybe, on the modern Doom franchise.
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
Yeah, we did. It was in the spring.
We talked about Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, the expansion to Doom Eternal, which was like a whole other campaign, which was hard as shit, and I loved it.
Yeah, and then we did
adored that.
Doom the Dark Ages.
And we did the new Doom the Dark Ages. And in that discussion, Doom the Dark Ages I thought was a big step back from Doom Eternal, but it was because it added open worldy stuff and it went in this more Far Cry direction.
Yeah.
And to find another corollary of old school first-person shooter campaign design, I would have to go to like Wolfenstein, which is within the same kind of umbrella studio as the Doom games, where they're both kind of id and Bethesda. And they haven't made one of those since like 2018. They made a shitty one we don't talk about, but it was a spinoff.
Okay.
But that's kind of on ice now. So as I'm reaching for, hey, this is what I love, and it's still carrying the torch, it gets harder and harder to find anything. Borderlands has always been kind of open world, and that's getting more and more so, where you watch trailers and it's like, oh, that's from Destiny, that's from Destiny, that's from Destiny. So that's going in that direction. And then you have all the first-person shooter campaigns that are kind of RPGs, that are all the open world thing. You have Starfield, you have Outer Worlds 2, you have Cyberpunk 2077. And we've talked about some of those on the show, and most of them are teetering towards that Assassin's Creed sort of direction, which I can enjoy, but that is not a cinematic FPS campaign to me. The only exception that I can find in the modern landscape is indie shooters, like boomer shooters, where it's all pixel art. We talked about Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun.
Yeah.
I believe we talked about that in one of the buffet episodes on Patreon.
Yes, it was on Patreon.
We've done so many of these things, I'm starting to hallucinate.
No, that was a Patreon, I remember.
A couple other indie shooters I wanted to shout out here. Mullet Mad Jack, I played a couple weeks ago. I Am Your Beast, Neon White, Super Hot, a number of roguelikes. This design ethos still exists, but I think it's a worrying sign that it's been relegated to this scrappy indie category.
It's no longer in the mainstream.
And I love indie games. I champion indie games, but
always.
It's worrying to me that the only way I'm going to get the thing I'm looking for, which is a Call of Duty campaign in a Call of Duty game, it's going to be when they remake an old game.
Yeah, that's
they
not a good feeling.
Remastered the first Gears campaign this year, and they're remaking the first Halo campaign next year. So there's not innovation in this space anymore.
Right,
there are pale imitations and throwbacks and retro indies, but I feel like somewhere along the way, the FPS campaign kind of slowly died.
Yeah, because I wonder if like developers are thinking, well, we can sort of check that box in doing these nostalgic remakes and remasters and not bother trying to do that in a new way, in a new game. And instead we'll lean towards these other trends of either these like big sweeping like multiplayer bullshit, whatever the fucks, and then these like Assassin's Creed style open worlds. So yeah, that's frustrating. That's disappointing.
I don't know. I mean, if you can think of any modern examples, please let me know in the comments.
Don't ask me. Ask the listener.
We did a Patreon episode about Warhammer 40k Space Marine, and they just made a sequel to that a year or two ago, and that looks like my kind of shit. That looks like original Gears. So it's happening, but that's kind of a AA title. So in the big AAA mainstream gaming, I feel like we're not getting FPS campaigns in the way I love anymore. Sure. And if I can't rely on Call of Duty to do that, I mean, you have market leaders for a reason. So there's no trend to chase here.
I do feel like, though, and maybe, I mean, I don't know if I know enough about this, but I am feeling like there are still trends in games that are leaning towards innovation and new things, especially from indie developers. Like, what one game of the year? Last year, game of the year was Astrobot. The year before was that card game. What was it called?
Ballatra?
Yeah. Like, I just feel like yes, it did.
Oh,
I remember.
okay.
I remember because I was like, wow, that's incredible. It either won game of the year or it won a million other awards.
I think it won because I think that might have been last year too.
That's why I'm confused.
I don't know. I mean, your point stands.
Like
those are the game. I mean, look at this year's Game Awards nominees. It's mostly
Hades 2 and
Silk Song, and even Expedition 33. That wasn't a AAA production.
Like it's kind of the same thing that's happening all across entertainment and media, where a lot of like independent, self-made things are sort of rising above the like established, institutionalized media. Like not fully, obviously. Like these like large corporations still dominate very much, but I think there is a push against like big, like fancy AAA trends, and there's a leaning towards innovation. And so even though what you're talking about is not in itself innovation, you're talking about going back to something old, I feel like there's still desire in games to be creative and, you know, creatively expand upon or redo an older formula rather than just leaning on trends. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, rather than trying to make everything Fortnite and Assassin's Creed, like, we're also trying to do other things. So
when I find one of those indie, they call it boomer shooters because it's all pixely and they make it look like old Doom, and usually they borrow a lot of those design aesthetics.
Okay.
I love those. I don't mind being targeted as part of a kind of condescending name for a genre. But when I find one of those, I still love it. I fully lock in and I appreciate it as much as I would an old Halo campaign. So I don't mind looking at it in the indie square, but I think you're right. I just wish someone would take a chance and make an old, not a half-ass open world kind of chasing a trend, which is kind of what they did with Halo Infinite. But if they just made a traditional shooter campaign, I think that might blow open the industry and create a new trend.
I see.
Because next year, I think it's next year, we should be getting Gears of War E-Day.
Yeah.
So that looks to be a traditional Gears campaign at the beginning of the timeline. I believe it's a prequel to the first game.
Yes.
With those original set of characters you love. So that, I guess, to end it on a hopeful note, that looks like they might be pivoting back to, hey, we're going to make this in the style and timeline of the original game.
But updated with like modern technology and systems.
After experimenting, I think, in the wrong direction with Gears 5 and making it kind of half-assed open world.
Yes.
Because a year or two after Gears 5, which was reviewed well, but I never saw it discussed in the way I wanted it to be. It wasn't held up like that original trilogy was. 4 and 5 went off the rails. A year or two after that, they released this campaign expansion, which is an increasingly rare phrase in the modern landscape, called Gears 5 Hivebusters. And it was a side story with some supporting cast with structured missions. And it took like maybe 3 hours to beat, but it was exactly what I'm asking for.
Ooh, okay.
It felt like, I don't know, half or a third of a classic Gears campaign. And I loved that. So I don't know. There are glimmers of hope here, and maybe next year will be a turning point. But if you're looking at the market leader in Call of Duty, I was so frustrated by how hedged and careless and complicated any of my positive experiences were through the Black Ops 7 campaign.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you would hope that, you're right, because it is kind of this leader, this industry leader, so you don't want other games to follow their example. It actually, like, maybe that's an example of what not to do. So I hope that it doesn't cause other, ripples in the wrong direction for you and other players.
But what do you think?
Yes.
Have you played through the campaign? What did you make of it? Talking about the larger genre as a whole, what do you think about the current state of FPS campaigns? Right. Are there any kind of unsung heroes that I missed in this discussion that I have to go play right now? Please let me know.
Did you today learn the word mechs like I did? I would love to know that. Thank you very much for listening. We love hearing your feedback and reflections. If you're on YouTube, you can comment down below. If you're just on a podcast platform, you can just get in touch with us via email, secondbreakfastpod@gmail.com, or better yet, go to the YouTube video and comment there so other people can see what you have to say. Also, watch Cam's gameplay because that's really cool. We already plugged our Patreon. May I also recommend you check out Lemon Tarts in Space, Cam's latest book. Cam is a very talented author, voice actor, producer. The book is a light sci-fi dark comedy. It's very fun and shooty and exciting, but also very silly and also very sincere, and is about friendship and death and all sorts of things. You can read that as a regular book, or you can check out the fully produced audio drama, which is really, really great. It stars Cam and Tristan, who we mentioned earlier in the show. He's a good friend of the show.
We used to play Call of Duty in college.
Lives. Yes.
Actually, there was a multiplayer mode where you could go online into these lobbies and play against other people, but you could do it split screen. So we'd be on the same team against all these other people.
Cool.
And that was the one time I think I've ever bought a microtransaction. We both bought the gold skin for one of these guns because it was our favorite one in the game.
That's very cute.
I completely forgot about that.
I didn't know about that. That's very funny. Yeah. Check out Lemon Tarts. It's in the description. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you here in just a few days with another brand new episode.